Good afternoon, race fans. It is Brett the Jet here in the booth with Turn 3 Racing Network, bringing to you live here from Watkins, Glen for race number 8 of the Riptide Radio Next Gen Cup Series. As you can see now, 2 minutes left in practice here as drivers try their last minute adjustments, try and learn what it will take here tonight to set the Leaf Guard Quick Time Award. As first time this season, these drivers taking on a road course here. I know quite a bit of drivers are looking forward to this, and I know a lot more just trying to stay on track, let's say, for all 45 laps, because that is what is ahead for a lot of these drivers here tonight. 45 laps will be the distance here tonight for the main race, let's say. 2 laps, best lap for qualifying will set the starting order. It looks like at the moment we have 21 drivers here on the racing surface to get ready to do battle for these 45 laps. As you can see, some guys finding the limits here in the last minute of practice. Right now, looking pretty tight at the top of the timing sheet here. Kyle Peacock right now with the best lap so far here in practice. Then it is Frank Zingen, Jeff Pogo, Rob Denton, and then Johnny Barker rounding out the top 5 here in practice. So those might be some of the names we'll have to keep an eye on here for qualifying. With this being a road course race, there are no yellow flags, so drivers going to have to keep lap number 1 very clean if they want a good finish by the end of this race. Yeah, overall speed does matter here, but if you get turned around facing the wrong way here to start the race, you're going to have a very, very uphill battle to climb for these 45 laps to try and get to the front. I believe we'll have 1 pit stop here, and we'll have to see when drivers decide to take those tires and fill it up with fuel, but we'll find that all out here just in a moment as practice wrapping on up. Peacock with the best time. Here we go over to qualifying now. And of course, with this race being a very long track here, 2.42 miles, I believe 11 different turns for these drivers to figure out. So a lot of research going into tonight. You know, it's not just finding the limit of the car through 4 sets of corners like we see on a normal night. It is finding the limit on all 11 turns, because there are no 2 turns like each other. There are similar turns, but each turn these drivers are going to have to attack, of course, a little differently each and every time here. So drivers going to have to work their magic here as we get cars rocking and rolling here for qualifying. But looks like a nice day out, 77 degrees, 23% humidity, nice and clear. Don't see a cloud in the sky, and a little bit of winds, about 9 miles per hour here. And of course, got to thank all the sponsors with this series to make it happen. That, of course, being the title sponsor, Riptide Radio, coming on board. Cannot thank them enough. If you guys want to find out more, there is a link in the description that will take you over to their website, as you can also download their app. Of course, BG Graphix coming on board with a huge part of this season. Also, we have Leaf Guard coming on with the pole award here. We'll find out who's walking away with that award just in one moment. Of course, besides that, Out of the Woods Crafts, DTL Customs, and yeah, everyone else to make this happen here. So it looks like we got cars here starting their first time lap here as we take a look at the best time here in practice. It was this 83 car of Kyle Peacock. So we will watch Peacock's first lap here as he crossed the stripe. The 83 car is on the clock for a very, very long lap, about 1 minute and 12 seconds. As I know Jeff out there in the YouTube chat land, excited to see this car towards the top of practice, hoping he sees something here in qualifying. He's rooting for Peacock, and it looks like Denton and Kenny Reel. I know, right? Penny Stackers is back. That is very exciting news from these drivers. Of course, these guys all very much friends with one another and love to create their kind of teams, and those teams very, very important. Those guys very well work together with their team and teammates. You know, we have about, I think, 5 or 6 different teams, and all those guys, you know, do a great job with each other and around racing around each other as a league in a whole. So that is very exciting news as Peacock here crosses the stripe. Good enough for P number 3, lap number 1. A 13.62 for Kyle Peacock right now. Quick time going to the 93 of Denton with a 1:12.45. So that is a great lap for the 93 car on lap number 1. That is going to be very, very tough to beat here as Pogo slots into second in between those two with a 13.23. Then Johnny Barker, a great lap. He'll throw down a 13.42. And then Christian Delgado, a 13.72. So that rounds out the top 5 here at the moment. Stephen Holmes will slot in 6th, 7th Larson, 8th Ritter, 9th is Lowell, and then 10th is Matt Taylor. So we'll see what kind of standings change, let's say, for lap number 2 as the 83 machine coming through the final corner here. So we'll see if Peacock can find some speed lap number 2. Looks like Denton and Pogo did not, so their best times will stand. Peacock across the stripe. He'll jump up to P number 3 with a 12.84, so Peacock does find some speed. Now we'll take a look at the number 1 car. This is Brandon Guerin with the Barstool and the BG Graphix number 1 machine. So this is Guerin on his first time lap here, so has not taken a lap yet. So far, 16 drivers have taken a lap. As starting position will be fairly important because no yellow flag, so you start up towards the front, you get clean through turn number 1, and you can end up, you know, on the good side of things. As that will do it here in qualifying, excuse me. So big congrats to the 45 machine. A quick qualifying done here today. But we will have to give a big shout out to this guy right here for the Leaf Guard Pole Award. That being the 93 machine of Robert Denton, picking up that award here before the green flag even falls. So once again, big congrats to the 93 here with that quick time award. And that was a great lap there at mid-12 in qualifying. That is flying. So he might be one of the best cars to beat. But before we see who that is once we go green, let's go through tonight's starting order for the Glen 110 here tonight. So here we go, 45 laps, gonna be the distance here for this feature race, and we'll run through tonight's starting order, starting on the pole with that quick time award with that mid-12 second lap is the 93 machine of Robert Denton. To his outside will be our current points leader, the 97, that is Jeff Pogo. Then we head back to row number 2. Rolling off in P number 3 will be the 83 car of Kyle Peacock. And to his inside here, because the odd number cars will line up on the right, so kind of on the left side, rolling off P number 4 will be the 6 car of Johnny Barker. Rounding out the top 5 here to start tonight's starting grid will be the 16 Leaf Guard machine, that is Steve Ritter. Then rolling off P number 6 will be the 31 of Christian Delgado. We jump back to now row number 8. And starting in P number 7 will be the 90 of Stephen Holmes. Then we have the 2 of Nick Larson. He will roll off 8th. 9th going to the 21 of Robert Lowell. And then rounding out the top 10 will be the 8 car of Matthew Taylor. Then back in 11th, we have Eric Holly in the 7th. 12th going to the 62 of Frank Zingen. 13th will be the 42 of Dustin Coggins. 14th is Eli Raposa in the 46th. 15th going to Justin Branham in the 58th. 16th, glad to have this guy back. It is the 9 machine of Jeff Barefoot. Then we jump back to 17th. That will be Dan Dill in the 81. Rolling off 18th will be the 12 of Cody Brewer. 19th going to the 33 machine of Austin Smith. 20th is the 13 of Jason Wiley. And then starting shotgun on the field tonight. Couldn't quite get a lap in there. We jumped, tried to see him. He got about halfway around the track. That will be the 1 car of Brandon Guerin. Starting shotgun on the field here tonight. So that will do it for the 21 cars getting ready to rock and roll. Looks like 1 car maybe missing the grid. It looks like the 62 machine still on pit road. So 20 cars here getting ready to fire off. I assume we'll have 21 once we go green and Frank can get out of pit road. But it is going to be a hectic turn because turn 1, everyone's bunched up. Everyone's on top of each other. So this is where it gets scary, especially... You know no one's safe because it just takes one bowling ball to head into turn number 1 and knock down all the pins. But here we go. Robert Denton, Jeff Pogo will make up the front row here. So we'll wait for the 93 to jump on it. He gets on a great start for both the front row as kind of Kyle Peacock a little bit sleeping. And 3 wide into turn number 1. Looks like everyone will make it through here pretty safely. So then we'll head all the way up. It looks like Kyle Peacock a little bit slow out of there. So not sure what exactly happened. It looks like everyone, though, through the S's initially. So everyone can kind of make a little bit sigh of relief there as looks like everyone facing in the right direction through the first tricky part here as Kyle Peacock, Stephen Holmes make contact into the bus stop. They will somehow keep rolling. I don't know how that wasn't a big one there. 2 by 2 into the bus stop and a little bit of a send there, but everyone's still rocking and rolling. Man, that could have been very, very bad. So that will create quite a bit of gap for the top 6, let's say, as Nick Larson and our race leader, Robert Denton, goes around. Denton out in the grass here. He'll try and get his car rolling. There's Nick Larson in the background. So we're going to try and see what happened to Denton and Larson as they both go around lap number 1. That will put Jeff Pogo out in the lead here quickly. So looking back, well, sorry, got to him a little bit late, but here's Denton going into the final left-hander and looks like maybe a little bit too much speed carried through, lost the back end, and looks like maybe very similar to Larson. And luckily, the whole field doing a great job at avoiding both these two sliding because I think Larson kind of parks it right in the racing lane. Yeah, both cars kind of losing that back end there. Luckily, Larson out of the way there. The field can go on by, but that'll put them now 18th and 19th as they run. So not the start our pole sitter wanted. Same with Nick Larson, as that is 2 tough breaks for both of those drivers. And looks like at the moment here, Jeff Pogo leading the way here for lap number 1. Now lap number 2 coming to completion, and that will be our race leader, Johnny Barker, now up into 2nd. Christian Delgado 3rd. Steve Ritter 4th. And now with those 2, that moves Kyle Peacock back in the right direction. He finds himself back in the top 5 here. As it looks like we got more trouble further in the back here. Yes, we do. Two cars stopped with each other. That is the 13 of Jason Wiley and the 58 of Justin Branham. Both of those guys off here. And looks like Rob Lowell also having an issue here. So we're going to take a look here at Branham and Wiley. See what happened to both of those. As Branham gets in there very deep. Goes very... Oh man, Branham broke his left front there. You see that tire kind of wobbling all over the place. So maybe Branham with contact to dent broke that left front. Had zero stopping power after that. Tried to get out of the way, but the inevitable happens there, and you end up going straight into someone. And that unlucky someone that time was the 13 of Jason Wiley. Not sure what happened to Rob Lowell. He went off track at some point. We'll go to him, see what happened to the 21 machine. And that tricky last left-hander there, biting another driver as Lowell all the way across. Oh man, Eric Holly having nowhere to go. Holly will tag Rob Lowe coming across the track there. And that is what put the 21 machine to pit road. So quite a bit of action here in these first 4 laps. As now Branham still trying to limp that 54 to pit road. And you can see the damage to that Hendricks 58 machine. I mean, that thing obviously very, very wounded. And I'm amazed it got that wounded from that initial hit, because that is what broke that control arm there. So it looks like at the moment I can catch my breath here just for a moment, as it looks like everyone at least rolling here pretty good for the moment as we head to lap number 5 of 45. Has been a very eventful first 5 laps, but last time by Kyle Peacock was the quickest on track. Now this current lap, it was Jeff Pogo, our race leader. So Pogo trying to stretch those legs a little bit out in the race lead, trying to drive away from Johnny Barker. Pogo at the moment about a 1.5 seconds advantage over the number 6 car. While that seems like a lot for most tracks we go to, here at Watkins Glen, that's not too much, because that's just one mistake, one off track, and you got to really wait on the throttle, and then all of a sudden you see that gap very quickly evaporate. So we will have to keep an eye on that gap, see how that changes. Further on back, Frank Zingen in a tight battle here with, it looks like, Jeff Barefoot and Nick Larson. Larson having an incident there on lap number 1. Zingen, of course, having to start from pit, so that puts the 62 at quite a disadvantage. Or maybe it was a strategy move to maybe miss some of the first lap calamity, but both those guys trying to get back into the top 10, as this is a battle for 15th, 16th, and 17th here, as Zingen trying to find an opening around the 9 of Jeff Barefoot. Barefoot doing an awesome job at holding on to that position here. That's right on board with the 62 as one car spinning in front of them. That is Brandon Guerin. Guerin will get tagged by a couple cars here, so we'll go away. And man, we were just watching that good race in there, and somehow Zingen was able to guess the right lane, let's say, and sneak through that. But unluckily for the likes of Barefoot and it looks like Nick Larson, guessing the wrong lane, and will tag Guerin. So we'll go back, see what happened to the one car. But this last left-hander, man, this seems to be biting a lot of cars here tonight, as we see Guerin go around. And yeah, like we're watching there, hard hit for Jeff Barefoot, and Nick Larson just getting tagged in that. So it looks like all those cars able to get rolling at least for another lap, if not 2 pit roads. So that's the one good thing about wrecking in that corner, is you got pit road right there. Can jump on pit road, use that fast repair, but that will lose you a lot of time anytime you head to pit road. So with that, that moves this 62 out of the Woods Crafts machine we're looking at here, up into P number 14. Quite a bit of gap to the next cars in front of him, that being Eli Raposa and Eric Holly. We saw Holly get a early incident there as Holly very wide. You can see the damage to the front end to the number 7, but man, Holly almost got some tire barrier action as well there, as he has to, I'm sure he's fighting a very ill-handling race car with that damage, just trying to keep that car on the racing surface, but Holly has been able to hold on to 12th here at the moment. Speaking about at the moment, biggest mover so far in this race has kept it on track, kept it clean, and that is this 33 Lions machine of Austin Smith. Smith has moved up 8 positions in the first 8 laps. He is knocking on the door to the top 10, currently running in the 11th position here. It looks like slowly inching closer and eating away at the gap to Dan Dill for 10th. But speaking about gaps, Jeff Pogo continuing to put the gap onto Johnny Barker. Now 4.2 seconds in front of second place. Jeff Pogo, a very, very quick last couple laps there. Last time by, still in the 12-second mark. Only other car to be in there is the 83 of Kyle Peacock, who's closing up now about a second back to Johnny Barker. So we may have a battle for second here before long. So Kyle Peacock definitely wheeling that 83 machine here, and with a little bit of time here, we're going to try and ride on board just a little bit with Kyle Peacock, get a kind of feel for what it's like around Watkins Glen, how aggressive these guys are on the brakes, the wheel, and the throttle, because man, you can see how good Kyle Peacock is rolling through turn number 1. Just the amount of momentum at the apex and off that he closed up pretty much to 2 car lengths to Johnny Barker. Then kind of you hear the tires squealing just a little bit as Kyle Peacock kind of floats it and slides it through the S's, and that's what you got to do with these cars. Heavy braking into the bus stop, heavy curb initially, and then heavy curb on out to try and get as straight as you can early. Your Peacock have to be a little hesitant on the throttle because got a little bit too much curb, kind of bounced the car, and then once again waiting on the throttle through the last carousel, then hard on the throttle after that, try and get a run here. And this corner has been very tricky, tough to see the brake marker on the right, especially a car in front of you, and then to both hit those apexes. Here's another one that you got to be very crucial to hit the apex, because it's a longer straightaway than you think to turn number 1, as we see Kyle Peacock now to the inside of Johnny Barker for second. So that's a very quick lap here around Watkins Glen. You can kind of see Peacock there into 1 coming out of it. He won't have any brake glow here through the S's, but going into turn number 1, quite a bit of front rotor brake glow for the 83 machine, as he is working this car to the limit. About 5.5 second gap to our race leader. Can Peacock eat away at that even with passing Barker? Only a 10th off of the leader's pace. So Kyle Peacock absolutely wheeling this car, but it's going to be a fairly big gap. He's going to have to hope Pogo makes a mistake, and that is a tall order to ask. We head back a little bit further here as Steve Ritter up into the top 5. I believe Matt Taylor was trying to put pressure on Steve Ritter for P number 5. Missed the right-hander in the carousel there just a little bit, lost a little bit of time, but Matt Taylor was on the back bumper of the 16 there, so one we'll have to keep an eye on. Also, Austin Smith closing in on Dan Dill, now within about a second gap between the two of them. So Smith looking here for a top 10 here at the Glen. As yeah, Kenny, you mentioned it in the YouTube chat land there, but yeah, excited to try out the full-length Daytona 500 with some of these guys. Of course, with me in the car, that probably means I won't be broadcasting it, let's say, from myself, but very excited to jump behind the wheel with some of these drivers. If you guys are interested, be sure, if you got the time, jump on in there. I'm excited to race with all you guys because that should be an awesome event. And yeah, hopefully we make it to the end of the 500 miles. That's at least my goal, is to make it there at the end of it. And who knows, anything can happen at Daytona. Would just love a shot at it. As we keep an eye here, because we now have a 3-car battle, as a 62 of Frank Zingen has joined on in, has caught the back bumper of Austin Smith. So gonna have a 3-car battle here for the 10th position in about a lap and a half or so. Looks like Brandon Guerin down on pit road for the number 1 machine. So I don't know if that's a scheduled or an unscheduled stop for the number 1. Also, last week's winner, we didn't get to interview him live because he lost power just after the race. But since then, not here tonight. You know, you don't see Jim Ott, so we will postpone that till next week to try and talk to Jim Ott with his Chicagoland win. But here tonight, we see our first takers down on pit road here. The 62 and the 13 machine down on pit road here early. So gonna try and jump the field a little with a early stop. We'll see how that works out as we see the leader go on by to put him 1 lap down. And now as the field spreads on out, let's throw up the old track map to get an idea where your favorite driver's running out on the speedway. So the car we are looking at will be highlighted in that neon green. Everyone else is their correct car numbers. So you can see there Peacock about half the back stretch back. Still about that now 6-second mark. So Pogo maybe seeing who's in second. Maybe turning up the pace just a little bit over Peacock. But you can see too, Peacock starting to get into lap traffic here. Catching the 12 car of Cody Brewer. And then we'll have a whole bunch of Galgo cars right outside of the top 10 there. We head back to that gaggle of cars here, and looks like Nick Larson closing the gap just a little bit to Eli Raposa here. Those guys could have a battle here in just a few short laps. As it looks like trouble for one of the top 5 or just outside of it. Christian Delgado slow on the speedway out of turn number 1. We'll take a look here, see what happened to the Track Racer 31 machine here on lap 14. Delgado gets into one very, very hot there, and oh man, got the curbs just a little bit of a wrong way and loops it on around right in the race line. Luckily, everyone, some good heads-up driving. Delgado will get it rolling, but you can see losing 4th, 5th, 6th, and now that puts him all the way back in 7th. But just trying to get a little too aggressive on the throttle over the curbs and upset that rear end just enough that that thing whipped around there in a hurry. So here's that battle back for P number 12 is right behind them there. Whoa, don't know what happened there. Looks like Rob Lowell kind of bahaing through the grass. We'll take a look here. Justin Branningham holding him pretty tight there, and Lowell making a late move trying to get to the inside of the 58 machine. That was a battle for position there. Branningham wasn't going to let it up too easily, but that was almost very, very bad as Lowell had to cut it through the grass. Same with Branham, just a little bit. So with that, Nick Larson able to get around Eli Raposa for that 12th position. And then the gap increases a lot. And Johnny Barker on the back bumper of Kyle Peacock. Peacock having a little bit of a moment this lap. We'll go back to rewatch that here in a second, but we want to keep our eyes on this in case Johnny Barker can make a move for second once again. So Kyle Peacock now finally a little bit of breathing room over Johnny Barker. That could have been very, very bad for the 83 machine. Let's take a look and see what happened to Kyle Peacock going into the bus stop. So Peacock getting a ton of curbs there, and you can see all fours off the ground, and wow, that was a pretty big hit for the 83 machine head on into some of those tires there. I think Peacock definitely will have a little bit of motor damage, so we'll have to keep an eye on the speeds down the straight lines, let's say, or I should say the straightaways, as Kyle Peacock definitely going to be trying to wheel around a wounded race car from here on out. Further on back here, a great battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th as Stephen Holmes, Steve Ritter, and Matt Taylor all under a blanket here. This is for 4th, 5th, and 6th here. These guys have been racing around each other all race long and putting on a great show. You can see Matt Taylor there through the S, especially that last one. Lost the front end just a little bit. Had to slide it way, way wide. That cost him just a little bit of time, but very strong through the bus stop there. Was able to catch up a little bit to Steve Ritter and then trying the diamond line through the carousel there. That diamond line can be very quick for a driver, especially at those tires where you can enter in with a lot of corner speed, let's say, let the car drift up, and then once those front tires start to catch and roll out of the brake, you know, you can kind of then straight line it on off, get to the throttle a little bit sooner. But Taylor frying those rear tires, we saw a little bit of a lockup there and then loose off the corner. So Matt Taylor, maybe those tires going away just a little bit. Now Stephen Holmes locks up in front. That could open up the door for Ritter, but Ritter didn't get off of turn one very well. Here comes Matt Taylor once again. Taylor had a little bit of momentum going up through the S's there, but once again about 2 car lengths back on Ritter. We'll keep trying to apply the pressure, wait for the 16 machine to make a mistake. As we saw Kyle Peacock get a big time of the curbs, that can be kind of the deter for some of these drivers to get too much curb, but you can see a lot of them still getting enough of the curb to get all 4 tires off the racing surface. So with the damage, that has slowed down Peacock a little bit to about a 13.72 last time by. Johnny Barker with a 13.51, but still the fastest car is our race leader, still in the low 13s, a 13.73. As we see Taylor look to the outside, going to try and cross him over. Holmes did not get a good exit. Here we go once again. Taylor to the outside of Ritter here through the S's. Now to the inside through the left-hander, and Matt Taylor up into the top 5. As what a power move by Matt Taylor there. That was a good one, as he will get around Ritter. Now try and sets his sights on Stephen Holmes for fourth. As we approach the halfway mark here, as they run Jeff Pogo out in front, Kyle Peacock second, Johnny Barker in third position. Then it is the drivers we are looking at here. Holmes in fourth, Matt Taylor fifth, Steve Ritter sixth. Christian Delgado is starting to catch these guys. He's running in seventh. Then our pole sitter, Robert Denton, after that mistake, starting to make up some time. He's in eighth and catching these cars in front. Ninth, a solid run by this guy here, Dustin Coggin, able to keep all four on the racing surface and finding himself in the top 10. And then Nick Larson able to rebound another one with that first lap incident. He currently runs in P number 10. Battle for second heating on up here as Barker will look to the inside of Peacock going into the bus stop. Of course, we'll think better of it there, but Johnny Barker now applying some pressure for second position. And then further on back, Robert Denton has caught Christian Delgado for seventh as well. So 20 laps in the books. We had to 25 to go here at Watkins Glen, as Jeff Pogo just crosses the stripe in that 97 machine. And that time by there, Stephen Holmes will come down pit road for his scheduled stop. So really the first taker inside the top 10 to jump on down will be the 90 of Stephen Holmes. You'll also bring along, I believe, let me double check. Yeah, the 42 of Dustin Coggins also down on pit road this time by. So 2 cars in the top 10 down on pit road. We'll have to see who else decides to shoot on down. As here for 7, Robert Denton putting a lot of pressure on Delgado. Delgado not looking in that mirror, trying to hit his best laps to even catch Steve Ritter, as both those cars are catching the 16 machine. Here at the 24 to go mark, no drivers down on pit road, so most of these guys probably going to try and run long, if not split this race directly in half. As Den late on the brakes there, locks up that right front just a little bit, almost gets in the back bumper of Delgado. That will cost him just a little bit on exit speed, having to woe up just that little bit more at the apex. But man, Denton has a great run through the S's. Can he try a move going into the bus stop here? Denton will get to the back bumper but cannot make a move. Delgado definitely watching that rearview mirror, trying to make sure that Denton does not make a move. As we see Delgado moving to the right ever so slightly, and both into the bus stop and into turn number 1, 2 of the heaviest braking points here around Watkins Glen. And we see our race leader, Jeff Pogo, down on pit road. Now the 6 of Johnny Barker. It's about to be a very busy pit road, as first and third down, who in this group heads on down. And the anticlimactic answer is no one else, as it is Pogo, Barker, and Eric Holly all down on pit road here. A lot of brake smoke right in front of these guys, as Matt Taylor, I believe, missing turn number 1 just a little bit. That will bring him a little bit closer to these 3 cars behind him, as Denton still trying to work all over the back bumper of Christian Delgado. We'll ride on board with Delgado looking back at Denton here. And you can see Den, I believe he's a little bit quicker, but just cannot time the pass right. You know, wants to pass Delgado the right way. I don't blame him at that, but man, what a great battle between these two, as Den all over the back bumper of Delgado. And you can see just how late Denton is on the brakes there. Very late on the brakes, able to dive it in there very, very hard, as Delgado now down on, not on pit road actually. I thought with how slow he was at the apex, he was coming on down, but maybe giving Denton a little bit of room. Here we go, side by side into turn number 1. Delgado late on the brakes, Denton trying to hold strong up top. They'll go side by side as Larson coming out of pits right to their inside. 3 wide, wow! They just snuck through there as Delgado maybe had to lift just a little bit. And that puts Robert Denton by the 31 machine. Also down on pit road that time, Kyle Peacock able to get on pit road, get a fresh car, so he will roll out of pit road right in front of Johnny Barker. Barker right there, and Peacock trying to get around Raposa there. Not a battle for position, but that opens up the door for Johnny Barker's Barker right on the back bumper of Peacock here. With us in the middle of pit road cycles here, Matt Taylor out in front, leading some laps here once again in the 802 Riptide Radio Racing Series. So awesome job by the number 8 machine, as so far he has had top 5 speed here tonight. We will keep an eye on this battle here, see if Johnny Barker decides to make a move, as Kyle Peacock trying to get some temperature into those fresh tires in the 83 machine. Barker not having the exit he probably wanted there off that final corner, loses just a little bit of time to Kyle Peacock, so Peacock can sigh a little bit of a relief, as about half a second between those two cars. But how about the run this guy's having? Our current race leader, Matt Taylor, out in front, having himself a very, very solid race here. How much longer does the 8 car go? Because the longer they go, in theory, they could have a shorter pit stop, as they only need a splash and go. And maybe some of these drivers that are, you know, 5th, maybe try a little bit of strategy and just go for fuel. Don't take those tires. As that time by, we get 20 laps to go here around Watkins Glen. Jeff Pogo, even with pitting, sits in the P number 5 spot, so he'll take over the lead once it cycles on out. Kyle Peacock would be 2nd. Johnny Barker would be in 3rd. The question is, how will it shake out for like Matt Taylor versus Stephen Holmes? Last time by, Taylor a 1:14.1, where Stephen Holmes, with those fresh tires, a 1:13.8. So about 0.3 of a second difference, and that is not too much here at Watkins Glen. So like I said, if I'm the likes of Ritter, Denton, Delgado, if I want to try a Hail Mary move, I come in, just take a splash and go, and see if I could sneak into the podium, as now we see Matt Taylor down on pit road. With Taylor down on pits, that will hand over the race lead to Steve Ritter, who is getting more and more of the 93 of Denton in his rear view. Delgado, a little bit of fishtail, and right behind them, as he once again gets a little bit loose over those curbs out of turn number 1. Those curbs are very, very treacherous if you hit them wrong. As last time by, fastest lap by anyone, was the 83 machine of Kyle Peacock, but it's going to be quite a bit too late as Peacock a long way back from Jeff Pogo, but with that lap able to get himself quite a bit of room now to Johnny Barker. Up here in front, Robert Denton has ran down Steve Ritter. About 4 car lengths separate the two of them. Looks like this time by Ritter down below the yellow line. Ritter down to pit road. So our pole sitter finally gets to lead a lap here. Robert Denton back out in front. So now that only leaves, I think, Denton and Christian Delgado, only 2 drivers that have yet to pit. And looking at my little cheat sheet here, it looks like everyone down on pit road at least 4 tires and full of fuel. As it looks like same with Ritter, he will do that as well. It looks like by the time Ritter gets rocking and rolling, you see Matt Taylor just going on by. Of course, Taylor pitted 1 lap earlier than Ritter there, but with that pit stop, that puts Ritter all the way back down in 8th position. As the total time on pit road is anywhere from about 45 to 50 seconds. So for Denton, you know, you got to take that out, and that's where he'll slot on in as Delgado and Denton both, Denton only on pit road as Delgado still stays out on the racing surface. So Delgado, the last car to pit here tonight. Last time by, best lap by anyone here. Jeff Pogo absolutely flying out here tonight. He has ran a 1:12.48, so that is absolutely insane speed from the 97 machine, who will be our race leader here when Delgado pits this lap. Also, a little bit of an incident here on the speedway. Haven't had one for quite a few laps here as we take a look at the 33 machine of Austin Smith here. And once again, that left-hander biting another driver as Smith, trying to get on the throttle, loses the back end just a little bit, and pretty significant contact with the left front as he loses a bunch of time trying to wait and will tow it to pit road. So that is a tough break for Austin Smith, as like I said earlier here tonight, he was putting together himself a pretty good race there. Was just getting into the top 10 there, so a tough break for Austin Smith. As we head further deep in the pack here, Denton back out on the speedway after a pit stop. It looks like slots him in P number 7 just in front of Steve Ritter here. So we'll see if Denton can close the gap to Matt Taylor. As it looks like anywhere from, let's say, Stephen Holmes to Steve Ritter could be a battle. All those cars separated by about 5 seconds or less between the 4 of them there. So you can see the pack there. Holmes just going into the bus stop, and you see Ritter and Denton about midway through that backstretch. So that's about the distance with 5 seconds as, oh man, Matt Taylor goes around in the bus stop as the number 8 machine from P number 6 goes on around. I think he had some help, so we're going to take a look at that there. But this would be a tough break for Matt Taylor as he was having himself a good race. A little bit of a late move to the inside of Eric Holly, and then Holly and Taylor make contact there, and that is a tough break for Taylor as he was running in 6th. This will put him all the way back to 8th. As I'm sure Taylor not going to be happy with that there, but has to put that in the review if he can, because still 15 laps to go and Taylor about 7 seconds back from Ritter, so gonna have to hope some sort of incident with those cars in front of him. As finally the 31 machine will dive down to pit road, so this will fully cycle our pit stops here tonight. As Christian Delgado gets down to pit road speed, he will crawl his way to the pit box here, but that will put Jeff Pogo back out to the point here with 14 laps to go. So I will be really intrigued to see where Christian Delgado comes out here around. He'll probably come out right around Dent and Ritter, so we'll keep an eye here as a 31 machine rolling through pit road. And yeah, it's going to be very close between Ritter and Delgado. Here will be a race for 6th as Delgado to the inside of Ritter. Side by side here, Delgado, fresh tires, doesn't have any heat in him, has to give way to Ritter. But Delgado will have the fresher tire advantage here. He just has to get some heat in those tires, and he should be a man on a mission for these last 14 laps. Last time by, best lap for Steve Ritter. He is finding some speed here, but best lap by anyone goes to this 93 machine of Robert Denton. Denton absolutely hauling the mail, about half a second quicker than Holmes last time by. If he can keep up this pace, he will be knocking at the back bumper for 4th here in a hurry. About a 2-second gap separates Holmes and Denton. Delgado loses about 3 to 2.5 seconds to Ritter, trying to get those tires to fire on up. So Delgado's going to have his work cut out for him in these next 13 laps as well. Overall, it looks like everyone pretty spread on out, as I think we do have another incident here. Looks like maybe with the 58 machine, so we'll go take a look at that as we see Justin Branham heading into the bus stop here. And once again, very similar to Kyle Peacock. Gets a little bit too much curb in the left-hander of the bus stop and noses it pretty hard into those tire barriers. And once we go off the car here, we'll see probably quite a bit of front-end damage to the 58 of Branham. You can see that damage there on the nose and that left front fender. And with everyone kind of spread on out here with 12 laps to go, I'm going to go say, let's do a little bit of speed shots. You know, you don't see it too often here at Watkins Glen, but it's always a great sight to see. So I'm going to take a break from talking and yapping here, and let's let the cars do the talking for about a lap and a half here at Watkins Glen. Alrighty, folks, we head on back here for 10 laps to go for our race leader, Jeff Pogo, out in front with a pretty sizable lead. Running in the second position is the 83 machine of Kyle Peacock. Third going to Johnny Barker in the sixth. Robert Denton there was able to track down and get around Stephen Holmes. So Denton back up into fourth. Stephen Holmes, of course, that puts him in the top five in P number 5. Sixth going to Steve Ritter, and Christian Delgado closing in the gap now within a second. Delgado currently running 7th. 8th is Matthew Taylor. Frank Zingen up into the top 10 first time tonight. 10th going to Nick Larson. 11th is the 42 machine of Dustin Coggins. Looks like 12th will be the 81 of Dan Dill. 13th going to the 7 of Eric Holly. 14th is the 46 car. That is Eli Raposa. 15th, Jason Wiley. 16th, Rob Lowell. 17th, Justin Branham. 18th, Cody Brewer. Looks like 19th and on pit road, Jeff Barefoot, Austin Smith, and Brandon Guerin both out of tonight's event. So that's running through the field here with under 10 laps to go. We head to that battle for P number 6 here as Christian Delgado within half a second here of Steve Ritter. We ride on board with Delgado here, trying to find that speed to get around Steve Ritter here. And with this visor cam we have on with Delgado, you can see him working this wheel here tonight. What kind of inputs are needed when drivers are kind of shifting, grabbing the next gear or grabbing the gear below. You can see just how tough it is to race with a car right on your front bumper there. Delgado will swing it very wide, try and get a run on Ritter. It looks like will actually cost him a little bit of time here. Delgado hits the apex a little bit better than Ritter. Delgado will sail it in there, but won't get the runoff that the 16 has, so he'll keep on trying to get around the 16 here. As Ritter, a little bit of a lockup there into turn number 1. And that's all it takes, folks, is just one mistake at any time can open up the door, especially when you got a car, you know, within half a second of you. As Delgado will look to the inside, able to get on the binders hard enough, and once again, very aggressive through those curbs in the bus stop. And we'll talk to, you know, the top 3 after, but I bet you a lot of them will say, you know, it was like I was on a Sunday drive, because once you can kind of get a feel, get in a rhythm, you know, you're not really pushing the car too hard, but then you're clicking off very solid laps because of that, because you're not pushing, you know, overdriving an entry or anything like that. So we are closing in on the finish of this race here. It will be 7 laps to go this time at the stripe for these drivers. I tell you what, Kyle Peacock, even though he had a big deficit to Jeff Pogo, has been eating away at it. You know, won't be enough time to get there, but Peacock, a very impressive run here tonight. Same with Barker, same with Denton, who had that first lap incident. You know, if Denton didn't have that, this race could look a whole lot different. Same with even Kyle Peacock, you know, he doesn't have that spin out of the bus stop. Once again, this race could look a whole lot different. As we'll keep an eye on this battle, but it looks like a incident for the 58 machine. Looks like he will be back on pit road, so probably his night is done. So we'll take a look at that here. I think we'll do it right now because this battle heating on up. I don't think we'll have anything yet, so we'll take a look at the 58 machine. And it looks like, yeah, already kind of another left front broke. That it is for the 58, trying to get to pit road. Can't quite get there. As here we go, battle for 6. Delgado, Ritter side by side through the S's. Contact, Delgado in the wall. Wow, that was some close racing there. As Delgado will get the short end of the stick there, but I'm sure that will make him drive even more harder to the back bumper of the 16. Once again, we'll take a look here at the pass and through the S's for that battle here. See if maybe Ritter gets the curbs, or just looks like loses that front end just a little bit and just slight contact. But these cars are so loose through those S's that any sort of contact will bounce these cars in any sort of direction. So just some close, hard racing there through the S's, but that time by for Jeff Pogo. One open palm from the flagman. It is 5 laps to go, and still just around, let's say, 6 minutes of racing still left here tonight. So even though it's 5 laps to go, still anything can happen here. As Kyle Peacock still clicks away at the race lead, you know, closing in on single-digit seconds behind. So I know I said it before, but a great run by quite a few drivers here tonight. Robert Dent definitely closing in on the back bumper of Johnny Barker, but I think it's going to be a little bit too late as he needs to make up about 3.5 seconds to the 6 machine in 4 laps. That is going to be a tall order. As we keep an eye on this battle, Delgado will look to the inside of Ritter, trying to force Ritter to drive it in there maybe a little bit deep, get a lockup, some sort of mistake, but Ritter, one of those drivers, going to be a tall order to have the 16 machine make a mistake. As once again, Delgado doing everything he can to try and get around the 16 machine. As Jeff Pogo this time by, we'll see 3 laps to go. Jeff Pogo lap inside the top 10 now, has put 10th on back, at least one car a lap down, and that is some impressive pace from our race leader. As like I said before, Jeff Pogo probably on a Sunday cruise here tonight, just trying to hit his marks, make sure nothing crazy. And here comes Christian Delgado, a big send to the inside of Steve Ritter. Had a great run down the front straightaway, was going to take the opportunity to it. And, oh man, once again, Ritter, Delgado, maybe a little bit of contact. And once again, Delgado in the wall. That time, man, Delgado loses quite a bit of time as he finds himself over half a second back with 2 laps to go. So Delgado's probably going to get one more chance at Ritter to try and make a move. And Delgado had something happen twice through the S's, so I'm sure if he gets there, he's not going to be a happy camper. As the field, including Jeff Pogo, these guys here will see it this time by popsicle sticks up in the air. It is 2 laps to go here around Watkins Glen. So once again, going to throw up the track map for these last 2 laps here. Get an idea where your favorite driver's running on the speedway. As Jeff Pogo comes through the final few corners. And this time by for the 97 machine, Jeff Pogo will see the white flag here. So Pogo on the final lap here, out by himself, has no cars behind, no cars in front of him. So he just needs to set sail, hit his marks, and look at this. Battle for third. I said it was going to be a tall order, and Robert Denton was ready to attack that as he gets very loose there. But Denton to the back bumper of Barker. We have a battle for third here before the end of this one. As once again, Delgado closing in on Steve Ritter for 6th. So Jeff Pogo out by himself. He's got this in the bag as long as nothing crazy happens. So out in front, not missing much. We'll keep an eye on this battle here, at least going into the bus stop. As Denton catching Barker here on the final lap. Barker watching his rear view, trying to hit his marks very slow through the bus stop. Here is Robert Denton on the back bumper. As Jeff Pogo here at the stripe, he will pick up the win. Robert Denton picks up the win. Jeff Pogo picks up the win with a great race by the 97. Here comes Robert Denton. He'll look to the inside. Barker will drive it in there deep. Able to defend. Denton's got one more chance. He gets a little bit loose. Can he get through this final corner better? Just a little bit too late there. As wow, what a great run by Denton. Able to get up into 4th. Here we go. This battle here. Delgado sideways through there. He has one more corner. Try and get there. He just can't. So that was put Ritter in 6th. Delgado 7th. Wow. What a great finish for these guys. As some great racing throughout the field. It looks like everyone else able to bring it on around. The last car to hit the stripe will be the 62 machine. Frank Zingen. Zingen will finish in the Pete number 9 position. But how about this guy? Jeff Pogo getting the job done, picking up another win this season. And this will be win number 3 as Jeff Pogo able to extend his points lead just a little bit more. And I tell you what, he is having a season to remember in these first 8 races. And a heck of a race by this guy here tonight. Jeff Pogo picks up checkered flag number 3 of the season. Jeff Pogo burning it down here at the stripe, and man, that is a awesome view. So don't go anywhere here, folks, because we'll have the top 3 coming on up here in just one moment. We'll go to commercial break, back on the other side, chatting with the top 3. So we will be right back, and come on back with those post-race interviews. Don't go anywhere, folks.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12-Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Alrighty, folks, we head back to Watkins Glen here, and we have our podium finishers here on deck. So the first guy we will be talking to is our third place finisher, that being this 6 car of Johnny Barker. Johnny, do you got a copy? It's Brett the Jet in the booth here.
I got you, Brett.
Alrighty, man. That was kind of stressful there at the end. Tell us about those last couple laps here.
Oh man, I'm ready. I was glad for it to be over with. I can't remember who that was coming. I was watching in the relative. I was like, Lord, they gonna get me, and I started messing up, and finally just had to calm down and just start hitting my marks again, and was able to hold him off.
Yeah, it was the 93 of Robert Denton closing on in there quickly. And in those situations, I always tell other drivers, you got to virtually rip off that rear view mirror, because that will make you make a lot of mistakes in a hurry.
Yeah, that's what I had to start doing that last, I think, 3 laps or 4 laps. I was watching it and started messing up. I'm like, I got to look ahead. If he gets to me, he gets to me. And luckily, I think he slipped up a few times, and I was able to hold him off.
Yeah, a great race by, all you guys up there in the top. I mean, at one point, Kyle Peacock had that big moment. You're able to get to his back bumper. I mean, even with his damage, I mean, what's your thought process with that, with having a chance at second and, battling with those guys? It seemed like most race.
Yeah, when he got in that incident, when I got to him, I probably could have got around him. I didn't want to push the issue and wreck myself, so I figured maybe I'd short pit him a little bit and maybe come out ahead of him, but he come out right ahead of me, and like I say, them top 2 was super fast, and like I said, I was just happy to be riding where I was riding in third.
Yeah, and that is a great finish. I mean, that makes your 4th now top 5 finish this season in the first 8 races, let's say. I mean, that's a great way to start the season. How are you feeling overall with a run to start the season, even with your bad luck, with those pit road incidents and whatnot?
Yeah, I'm hoping I got all my bad luck out the way now, and we can go racing. I'm not real good at Charlotte, so that's kind of one that I'm ready to just get through that. But hopefully I get a top 10 in Charlotte, I'll be happy.
There you go. It's going to be a long race, definitely a race of attrition there, as I think you guys are going 200 laps. That should be a fun one. But here tonight, a very tricky place, road racing, turning left and right. I mean, what kind of expectations did you come into tonight with, and how were you feeling before this green flag dropped?
I was hoping for a top 5 tonight. like I said, I'm no road racer by no means, but I normally do pretty good here. Last few years, I had a couple bad races, just bad luck. Was running, top three when that happened. So, uh, I was shooting for a top five. So, I'm happy with third for sure.
Yeah, an awesome job by you because, especially every road race, it's always sketchy going into turn number one. Let's say, I think Kyle Peacock had a little bit of a moment there. Luckily, everyone kept it rolling. But if I finish a race, all four tires on the track, let's say facing the right direction, I would say that's a pretty successful race. And you did that here tonight. So awesome job.
Yeah, thank you. I had a couple big moments myself where I thought I was gonna end up looping it, but end up saving it. And like I said, so for it to come home like I did, I couldn't be more happier.
Yeah, an awesome finish for you. And yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye out for that Charlotte race because it seems like, Johnny, you're one of the better drivers, let's say, when a long run happens. So a long race at Charlotte, I know you said not feeling the best going in there, but those long runs you seem to really excel with. And would you kind of learn for this season, or maybe prepare for this season to get even better at those long runs, let's say?
Well, working with my teammate Rob, and Rob's just so good at saving tires, and we practice a lot during the week. And like I said, most of the time I start out burning up my tires, and before Sunday rolls around, he'll be told me a few things that helps me, and so maybe we get some practice in this week, and I think that's gonna be the key at Charlotte is saving them tires. So I know Rob's gonna be tough there, and Steve's good there. There's a bunch of them to be good there. So
yeah, it should be a great race overall. A lot of, like you said, a lot of big names there, especially with a long race. I assume it'll get strung on a long green flag run. So very, very exciting. So once again, Johnny, big congrats on the P number 3. That was an awesome finish, awesome battle between you and Rob. So before we let you go and finally probably catch your breath a little bit more, finally be able to relax, I'll hand the mic over to you here at Watkins Glen to thank who you got to thank for another top 5 and another podium for you.
Excuse me. I'd like to thank definitely my teammates, Wolfpack Racing. They helped, like I said, we work good together, and they helped me out a lot. So want to thank them. Want to thank all the series sponsors. Thank y'all for the broadcast. I'm fixing to jump off and watch it now. So.
All righty. Well, appreciate the kind words there, Johnny. Yeah, have a great rest of your night. Once again, big congrats on that 3rd place finish, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again here in the future. So have a good one, and we'll catch you again here soon.
All right. Thank you.
All righty, folks. That was our 3rd place finisher, Johnny Barker, holding off Robert Denton for P number 3. Now we'll head up to our 2nd place finisher. Had an eventful race, this driver did. It is the 83 machine of Kyle Peacock. Kyle, do you got a copy of Spread the Jet in the booth here?
Yes, sir. How you going? All right. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you feeling? An up and down race for you, but there at the end, you were flying.
Oh yeah. I started 3rd. A little bit of lap 1 shenanigans kind of set me back, but I was really fortunate to battle back to 2nd. But I never quite could close the gap on Jeff. But glad to be in the fight, anyway, and have a fast car. So.
Yeah, that it was. We wonder if lap 1 went a little bit better, what could have been, and then that kind of the big moment of the race for you, going through that bus stop and that curb catching you and quite a few other drivers. I mean, was it just too much curb, got all 4 tires off the ground, and there it's just hanging on for the ride, let's say?
Yeah, I guess the past day and a half I kind of learned a new line that I was trying to run through the bus stop, and it seemed to be faster, and I was really consistent with it, but the one place that I never quite got comfortable at it was coming out of the bus stop, just hitting that last or I guess not the last curb, but the inner last curb on the
Yep.
left side. Yeah, it just unsettled the car. I was thinking to myself, I kind of look like sort of like that Kimi Räikkönen wreck back when he drove the 91 car.
Yep.
But yeah, I was honestly luckily I had enough lead on Barker, and I didn't have really a whole lot of damage from that. I still kept my spot, and then I just kind of nursed it until the pit, and I was able to use that fast repair, and then we were all good. So
Yeah, luckily that fast repair's in the pits, and that definitely helped you there. But I gotta wonder, how different did the car drive after that? Because it was a pretty good hit you took there.
I'm not gonna lie, I was extremely shocked at how good it was driving after that. I mean, it was definitely
Wow.
slow. It was definitely slow, and I could feel it was slower. But I was running like, I mean, I guess like regular pace is what, like maybe like a 12.4, 12.1 if you're really fast. But I was running like 13.2s, 13.3s. So I mean, it was definitely off, but it was still enough, you know.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. And I think your saving grace, probably got a little bit of motor damage, but luckily you hit that wall, pretty much dead nuts to the front bumper. So I assume that probably helped you didn't break any of the front end components, because once that happens, it's pretty much game over for that.
Oh yeah, sometimes you definitely get lucky with the angle of the hits and everything. I've had it happen in a few endurance races in the GT3 cars too. Like you'll come off a wall and you will not believe that you have no damage.
Yep, the good
But
old roll of the dice of iRacing, let's say, of the damage, right?
yeah, but yeah, thankfully I was good and got to fight the rest of the race. It was a lot of fun out there.
Yeah, it looked like a bunch of fun. 45 laps, able to come home second. And you mentioned it, figured out a little bit of a different line. And of course, the bus stop very tricky, but that last left-hander caught quite a lot of drivers out of sorts and maybe unexpectedly coming on around after the apex. I mean, what was kind of tricky about that turn? And then overall, you mentioned a little bit before, but what'd you kind of figure out for how to go faster? Because you were the quickest in practice as well.
Honestly, are you talking about like that left after the carousel?
Correct. Yep.
Honestly, that's my favorite turn of the track.
Ah.
I did some practice and watched a couple better drivers run it, and I felt like you could really push it compared to where a lot of people like to brake, as long as you were hard on the brakes and then downshifted. And that's honestly that's where like Johnny Barker, he ran a great race, but when we were battling, that's like specifically through the carousel and that section, I was just pulling away through there. One of my best parts on the track, I think.
Gotcha. And yeah, people tend to look over that part because, it's one later in the lap. So, less people get practice through that section. But there's a lot of speed to be made up there in the carousel on that left-hander, like you mentioned.
Oh yeah, I mean it's all part of the flow. You have to get the bus stop right because you don't want to shoot too wide. I mean, when you're in the car, it feels good to take it wide and sort of enter the carousel wide, but you don't want to do that. You really want to stick it maybe like a car length off the right side of the track and then just, downshift into second and just keep your speed. So that's how I was looking at it.
Okay. Always appreciate some driving advice there, Kyle, and always great to pick your mind there. So once again, huge congrats on the second place there, as no yellows, really spread out the field and a race a little bit of what ifs. But next week we head to a very long one, as we will do 200, I think, laps at Charlotte. How are you feeling about that place in a kind of a quote unquote endurance race with these guys?
Feeling great. Those 1.5 milers are my favorite types of tracks. Just hoping we can keep it clean and everybody can have a good race, just like tonight.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So once again, Kyle, congrats on the second position. Before we let you go, we'll hand over the mic to you one last time and give you a chance to thank who you got to thank, either on the car, some teammates, or maybe some people watching at home.
I just want to give a shout out to my teammates. A lot of them honestly couldn't make it tonight, but Rob Denton, he brought it home in fourth. He had an incident lap 1, but he qualified on the pole. He ran a 12.4. That's by
Ye-
far the fastest lap between practice, and everybody in qualifying. So that was really impressive. Yeah, just a shout out to him. Unfortunate he couldn't, battle back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one more lap and we would have been talking to him in the third position. But yeah, he threw down a lap in qualifying.
Oh yeah.
Alrighty, Kyle. Well, thanks again for chatting with us here in the booth. Always a great time chatting with you. So we will let you go. Finally decompress from this race. 45 straight laps. Always fun, but probably a little bit stressful. So I'm sure we'll be talking to you again in the future. So have yourself a great rest of the night.
You too, man. Thank you, Brett. You do a great job on here.
Alrighty. Thank you very much, Kyle, for the kind words. And yep, we'll talk to you again here soon. Alrighty, folks, that was our second place finisher, Kyle Peacock, with a great run there. And now we'll head over to Victory Lane and talk to the man of the hour. It is Jeff Pogo. Jeff, do you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, man. 45 laps and probably there at the end, it felt like a Sunday drive. How you feeling?
I wouldn't say it was a Sunday drive. I mean, you still had Peacock, Barker, and then that Rocket Man Rob back there is what I'm going to call him. Still had to stay on your toes, but it's a good race. Everybody was pretty respectful, and I like turning right, so I like these.
Yeah, it is. If it's your cup of tea, these next-gen Cup cars can be very, very fun at the road courses. And yeah, you had your work cut out for you. If just a few things went differently, it could have been a lot different up in front. Like you said, the Rocket Man, Robert Dent, or even Kyle Peacock if he doesn't wreck in the bus stop. But luckily, Jeff, keeping it clean, you did everything you needed to in a heck of a race.
Yeah, thank you. You just got to minimize mistakes. And like you said, if Kyle wouldn't have made that mistake, if Rob wouldn't have made that mistake, I think I think Denton, if he could have kept it on the track, I think it would have been a complete different outcome. I think I'd have finished second to him, maybe third if Peacock wouldn't have had a couple oopsies. But, I knew there was going to be 5 or 6 guys in here super fast and going to be hard to beat if they could keep it on the track. And, I mean, you just got to run these like an endurance race, man. You got to be patient, not pass in the wrong spots, keep it clean, keep it on the track, and then you usually fare all right.
Yeah, usually you do, as long as, nothing crazy happens. And luckily, nothing crazy happening to you there. Luckily, able to avoid those first few incidents, let's say. And, yeah, I mean, man, very, very impressive. One thing I got to ask, that last left-hander, so the left-hander after the carousel, we saw it bite Dent and about, 5 other drivers. I mean, what was difficult that you found about that corner, and how'd you kind of tackle it, let's say, because like I said, it caught a lot of people off guard.
It's not that bad. The trick is stay off the rumble strips. That'll
Gotcha.
upset the car because the rumble strips kind of transition from that little bit of banking they have to being a little off camber, almost a downhill. And anytime you hit that, if you're on the throttle at all, you're either going to loop it or get loose or something. And I think that's what happened to Branahan maybe. I don't know if you saw it on the broadcast, but lap 39, the final turn, he came straight across the track and I almost clobbered him.
Oh man, yeah, that would have been a tough break for sure. But yeah, good insight for you, as you can use some curbs, but other curbs, especially those fast corners, you probably want to stay off them, like you mentioned.
Yeah, you're all right. So you don't. A lot of guys will go over the curb in turn one, swing wide.
Yep.
I try not to. I think I did it maybe 3 or 4 times during this race, but I try not to. It upsets the car. And then the bus stop, you really don't want to hit the second curb, which is the first left-hander in the bus stop.
Yep.
But coming out, I mean, you can ramp them. It doesn't really matter as long as you're ready for the car to be upset. And then, try to stay off the curb in that second to last corner.
Alrighty, well, always love picking your brain, Jeff, with a little bit of driving insight and tips there, so thank you for sharing. Looking forward to next week, a long race, 200 laps at Charlotte. How you feeling about that?
I like Charlotte. Don't know that I've ran a Charlotte race in this car, but I'm usually fairly decent at Charlotte, and I'm good on long runs. So a 200 lap race ought to be a good one.
Yeah, that it will be. I'm excited to see, and hopefully, with the amount of cars we get on a weekly basis, we should see multi-groove racing start to come in at Charlotte. And once that happens, then it becomes very fun.
Yeah, it should be a good one. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that it should be. Well, with this finish, Jeff, this is your third win of the season so far. Fifth top five. I mean, first 8 races in the books with those stats. I mean, man, that's got to feel good. And how we feeling overall? I know I mention it probably every race so far, but to keep it strung along like you are, man, that's impressive.
You just gotta keep plugging along, man. Try to be smart with what you're doing. There's a couple times tonight I could have been a little more aggressive trying to pass some people, through the S's, bus stop, carousel. And big picture racing here for 20 races. You just got to be smart about what you're doing. I mean, even if Peacock or Barker would have got up there, or even Denton, or even my teammate Steve Holmes would have come up and found me in the last 2 or 3 laps, if they caught me, there's a reason they caught me. It's because they're faster. So you either fight them to try to stay in the lead and possibly wreck yourself or both of you and then finish 20th, or you be smart, let them go, take the win, you finish second and still have a good points day. So you just got to think big picture, man.
Alrighty, awesome. I love to hear the mindset already for you, Jeff. Already thinking big picture, and that's the way you got to be to finish there at the end of the season. So awesome stuff once again, Jeff. Always great talking to you. Hopefully you aren't getting sick of these. I'm sure you know the routine now, but once again, down in victory lane, once again, we're going to go hand over the mic to you and thank who you got to thank for victory number 3 of the season so far.
First off, I'm gonna thank everybody that was in this race tonight. I know this isn't everyone's favorite, so I want to thank everybody for coming out, and then everybody being respectful. Most everybody paid attention to their relative. There's guys that struggle that don't really look at their relative too much because they have to focus a lot on the track because they're not good at these. But everyone did good. Want to thank everybody for the respectful racing tonight. And got to thank the admins. This league's run really well week in and week out. And I know they deal with a bunch of stuff, so got to thank them. You for always being in the booth. And I just want to say, my teammates Steve Holmes and Dan Dill, Eric Holly, practicing with them this week, trying to figure this place out. They all did good jobs, especially Dan. He's not a road racer, really struggles places like this and comes home with a 12th place finish. Just appreciate that. And then, like I said, the race probably would have been different if there was a couple people that didn't have some incidents. But overall, good race. Just want to thank everybody for showing up and doing a good job.
Alrighty. Well, awesome words there, Jeff. Big shout out to the field, and I agree with that. Everyone did a great job. And once again, another respectful race. This league is awesome with that. I always try and mention at least once with the racecraft with this field, as there's always incidents, let's say, that can happen and will happen in racing. But overall, these guys seem like a great group of guys to race around. So,
yep.
Alrighty, Jeff. Well, we'll let you go. Continue to celebrate down in victory lane. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again here in the near future. So you have yourself a great rest of the night, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
You too, buddy. Have a good night.
Alrighty, folks. That was Jeff Pogo down in victory lane for the 3rd time this season, and a heck of a run by this 93 machine here. So we will get ready to send things on home, run through tonight's race results, and get us on out of here at a decent time. So Jeff Pogo picks up win number 3 of the season. Kyle Peacock will finish second. Johnny Barker rounding out the top 3. Coming in 4th, our Leaf Guard Pole Award winner. If he had one more lap, it could have been different, but he will finish in 4th, that being the 93 of Robert Denton. And Stephen Holmes in the number 90 machine will round out the top 5. Coming in P number 6 will be the 16 Leaf Guard machine of Steve Ritter. Then it is the Track Racer 31 machine of Christian Delgado in 7th. 8th, going to the 8 car, very nice, of Matthew Taylor. 9th is the 62 machine of Frank Zingen. Rounding out the top 10 will be the 2 car of Nick Larson. Finishing in 11th will be Dustin Coggins. 12th going to Dan Dill. 13th is Eli Raposa. 14th, Jason Wiley. 15th, Rob Lowell. 16th is Eric Holly. 17th going to Jeff Barefoot. 18th is Cody Brewer. Then back in 19th, we go to Justin Branningham. 20th going to Austin Smith. And Brandon Guerin rounding out the field here tonight. So once again, want to thank all you guys tuning on in here live. Got to give a shout out to Jeff and Kenny in the YouTube comments. All the guys coming on board with the replay, let's say, views. So want to give a shout out to all you guys. You know, some great numbers on all these races. So want to give a big shout out to all you guys, you know, doing a great job with sharing these streams as well as watching them. So with some people we got to shout out, you know, with this league, we got to thank quite a bit of sponsors. That's coming up on the screen there. That QR scanner will take you to the Riptide Radio app, and Riptide Radio will get you some of the best beach and boogie music, and great partner here with the league. Also with Leaf Guard, BG Graphics, Out of the Woods Crafts, and DTL Customs all coming aboard. Also with the Turn 3 Racing Network, we are partnered with Premier Setup. So in the description, if you wouldn't mind clicking that link, that would take you over there. Show them that we're still working with them, still supporting them, if you could support us as well. So got to give a shout out to all those guys. And of course, you know, Jeff said it, and I will echo it. All the drivers coming on board and racing here at Watkins Glen, like he mentioned, not everyone's cup of tea, but everyone did a great job with that. So got to give a big shout out to everyone here tonight. And overall racecraft by everyone each week and week out. So that will do it here tonight from me here in the booth. Be sure to tune in to Turn 3 throughout the week, as we have a lot of great broadcasters, a lot of great virtual racing to catch. So everyone, have a great rest of your week. Stay safe, have fun, and we'll catch you next Sunday. Same time, same place for 200 laps at Charlotte. You won't want to miss that. So everyone, I've been Brett the Jet in the booth, and I just flew by you. Have a good one.